Bless your beautiful hide.
Oh, how unhinged.
Hello. Welcome.
Hey.
We're back. It's not an episode that we pre-recorded. In fact, we're doing this at the last minute.
Very last minute. And bless your beautiful hide. Please
Oh my
explain.
gosh. I saw a TikTok. Was it Saturday? I don't remember when it was.
It was Saturday.
I was just chilling on the couch watching TikToks. I don't know what you were doing.
I was waiting for you to pick up our Bob Evans because you finally got your breakfast.
Oh, no, that's when you checked it.
That's when I checked
But
it.
I had sent it to
Friday.
you a while before,
Yeah.
and then I randomly I'm driving to get food, and you start just manically texting me, and you're like, "What is this? Oh my gosh, what in the world am I watching? This is unhinged." And I had sent you a TikTok of these guys that watch old movies and like commentate over them, and it was what was the name of the
I
movie?
think it's called 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
And I honestly, I thought this was going to be one of those TikToks that I send you that you see as long, watch
just
5
scroll
seconds of
over.
it, and just roll over because
No.
you don't like it.
No.
I couldn't believe you got in
I
as
couldn't
deep
look
into
away.
this thing.
Well, first I was like, oh, Daniel knows I like old movies because I really like White Christmas. I like old movies, old like musicals. And then I'm just watching it, and the guy's like marching through town. He's kind of got like a mountaineer type outfit on.
Yeah, very much a mountaineer outfit. He's got
and
a
I'm
beard. He's got really, really red hair, beard, and everything.
I liked him better with the beard. Apparently, he shaves off the beard later. But anyway, he's like at the little general store, and he's like, and I'll take some molasses, and I'll take some XYZ, and I also need to find me a wife. And I'm like, what? What is this? And so
He's there to buy a wife.
I couldn't look away. He's like, I've got 7 brothers. We're all messy. We live up on the hill. I come down, what did he say, like once a month or
Once
something?
every 5 months or something.
Once every 5 months or something. Because I guess travel back then was different, but no issue in finding a wife in town. Then I'm like, okay, I can't stop watching this because normally you're right, I would have stopped. And then he starts going into a song called "Bless Your Beautiful Hide."
Out of nowhere, it goes into a song.
He's just starting
out
here-
of
he's
nowhere.
like,
He just walks outside of
Bless
the.
your beautiful hide, wherever you may be. We ain't met yet, but I'm willing to bet you're the gal for me.
And
Here are some other fine lyrics of this One Big Fool. Or pay your way through cooking school. Oh, jeez. If and when you would say I do, bless your beautiful hide. Prepare to bend your knee and take that vow, because I'm telling you now, you're the gal for me. Pretty and trim, but kind of slim. Heavenly eyes and just the right size. Oh, it hurts. She's got to be right to be the bride for me. Bless your beautiful hide. So he starts singing a song about, a woman's hide, I guess. Bless your beautiful hide. Hind end. Is that what
skin.
he's referring to? Skin. Okay.
maybe that's creepier. I don't know.
It just made it worse. and what happens? In this whole sequence, they go to like a bar or something.
This is like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Now, I will say he did choose the woman that was swatting at another man, so maybe he likes a strong-willed woman. Her name is Millie. You could cut the tension with a knife betwixt the two of them. She's clearly into him. She spills the soup immediately, where I'm just interested in their interactions in the scene, and apparently you noticed something about the soup.
No, okay. You know what the red
Was it
flag
a
for
soup,
this
a
guy?
stew, a
The
chili?
red flag for this guy, beyond him in town shopping for a wife, is that she puts
Getting past that.
she puts stew, and it's clearly a
I thought it was like
liquidy
chili.
stew, but it's a liquidy food into his
Yeah.
bowl, and he's like, "Hey, can I get the ketchup?" And she's immediately like, "My food stands on its own; it doesn't need no ketchup." And I'm like,
Why
"Who
are you
puts
putting
ketchup in stew or
Yeah.
ketchup or
I've had
chili?"
some chili that tastes overly tomatoey though before. Now I'm wondering if maybe somebody was
ketchup in
squeezing
it?
ketchup in it.
Oh,
Chili that's basically not chili but overblown tomato soup. That's gross.
yeah, that's not. But I wouldn't count it as chili.
Yeah, I
it's
wouldn't
called
either.
tomato and bean soup.
Yeah, essentially, an actual competition chili does not typically use beans. But that's
Thank
a
you,
whole
Sheldon.
You're welcome. That's a whole other topic. We are team no beans chili in this house.
Anyways, if you want
Anyway,
if you
though,
want
look-
access to this TikTok or this movie,
Yeah,
just
let
hit
us
us
know.
up and we'll send it to you happily.
But okay, so they did have some tension in that scene. So then I had to finish it out. And what happens? He's successful.
He is
in his
successful,
shop.
yes.
This is within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes of this movie. And she's like, you know what? Fine. You can take my beautiful hide. and we will become man and wife. So, like, he had a more successful shopping trip than the clickless people that fulfill my grocery shopping orders do.
He got everything he
Got
came to town for.
everything he needed,
He got
including a
everything
wife.
he came to town for.
So naturally, while Daniel's still out getting our breakfast, I decided to just go on YouTube and I start watching all kinds of scenes from this movie. And I think I pieced it together, but now I have to watch this unhinged movie.
We haven't found the ability to stream it yet, but do
Someone
not
let us
test.
know.
Do not test us.
I'm finding out in the comments, people are like, "Oh, I watched that in school." I had to watch like Roots in school. And like Mississippi Burning, like we watch like actual like educational movies.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
like,
not
what school do y'all
educational.
go to? Like people criticize the West Virginia school system, but I didn't watch that, so I don't know. Anyway,
Well, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about TV we watch.
I can't believe you're not talking about your breakfast food that you finally got.
Oh,
that
I
you've been wanting
did
for, like, a
finally
month.
get my breakfast food. Weeks late.
Weeks late.
Weeks late.
You got some hot cakes. By the way, why does Bob Evans call them hot cakes instead of pancakes?
Mine were lukewarm cakes at best. By
Oh,
the time we got them
gosh.
home.
I wanted
Hot
takeout,
cakes,
but
bacon, sausage,
bacon. I had blueberry
eggs,
hot cakes with
home
bacon.
fries. You know what? I just remembered what I forgot to order.
What?
I usually get the side of white toast.
See, I thought that was intentional because you were getting hot cakes.
No, last time
Or
I
as we
went.
call them,
Last time we
pancakes.
went in, I got all of that plus the
I don't,
white
wow.
toast.
I still have one blueberry hot cake in the fridge. Left over if
It's
that warm
not.
up well. Maybe
It's not
sus
gonna
at
warm
this
up.
point.
No.
Anyway, Daniel finally got his breakfast. Okay, go on. Just thought we'd all make y'all hungry while you.
We've got a
listen to
great
this.
episode for you today. In fact, it's a finale day. We've got two
Finale
big
day.
finales. In fact, we're talking about the last two episodes of both Star Trek Picard and Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Then we've dove in. I think we're actually like halfway through the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel at this point.
Halfway through.
We've watched 4 episodes.
How many are there? Only 8? Do we
8
know?
to 10's what you normally get,
That's
and it doesn't.
depressing.
And I don't know how many we're getting.
And
So
we're probably a good piece through Ted Lasso as well.
and then we're going to continue our conversations on Ted Lasso, and
Which we're almost through.
yeah,
like I, just
I
said.
think that might be about it for this episode. So you want to start off with the one we were looking forward to the most, the one you made me wait. You made me wait to watch the last 2 episodes
So I could be present.
of Star Trek Picard. You made
See,
me
you
wait.
always had to wait for the last episode because
I always would have had to wait, but I didn't get to watch
didn't
the
it make
ninth
it better though? You got to watch the second to last episode, like the day before the last episode.
It was nice to be able to
Almost
watch
made
them
it
in quick
better,
succession like
less
that.
of a wait.
But it was bad because the Star Trek fans that we had been lauding all
Praising.
season and praising just broke down completely after episode 9 and just spoiled the whole thing all
We've
over the
kind of been
internet.
ragging on Star Wars fans because they like to do spoilers within seconds. Even so I don't do Star Trek Reddit. I love Picard. I like Strange New Worlds, but I'm not quite that level of nerddom yet. So I'm like, well, maybe you should just stay off Reddit. Even I saw a spoiler on just mainstream Twitter for one of the final scenes of the second to last episode. So Star Trek fans, you had a good run until you just got too excited.
I'm gonna say that that it's also a good thing because that means people were talking about it.
Yes,
Star Trek
that is a
Picard,
good
the
thing.
last 2 episodes hit the Nielsen top 10 streaming shows for those weeks.
And that's I didn't
and
even know
that's-
people really use that scale. I guess
They keep
TV
track of it,
companies do,
but it's important if we're gonna get a sequel to this show.
Yes, which we want, and they set it up perfectly in that finale.
So episode 9, which was the second to last episode, all the normal stuff happened, but I think you go to the end, right?
Yes,
You go to
The end scene.
things have gone really badly for everybody involved. The
Pretty
villains
poorly.
are revealed. It's the Borg. They seem to be doing. They're really doing well, and so the main cast escapes. The main Next Generation cast escapes.
Mm-hmm.
Raffi and 7 and 9 are still on the Titan.
kind of
they-
holding down the fort over there as best
Yeah,
they can.
And so and Geordi's like, okay, I think I've got something
All
for
of the
you
young
guys.
people, including Jordy's daughters, like if you are younger,
Yeah.
were like
Assimilated.
affected by the Borg, assimilated.
That's the correct term. It's assimilated.
Okay,
Who are you talking to?
all right, chill down.
So, anyways, the
Sheldon.
the main the main crew escapes. They go back to the Fleet Museum. Geordi has a special surprise. I think
Which we all knew was
we
coming.
kind of knew this was coming,
We
but it
knew
was
it
still
was
really nice
coming.
to see the Enterprise D from the Next Generation restored to its former
TV
glory.
Right, the TV show.
Yes, the TV show.
And that is a show that I did grow up watching with my dad, so even I geeked out and got excited. And before they mentioned it on screen, I have to point this out. I was like, oh, I remember the red carpet. Clearly, it's iconic enough that, was it Picard that actually said, oh, the red carpet, and like made a comment about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like,
iconic.
You know what? I never realized. He said, I never realized until this moment how much I missed. And you thought it was going to be like some sentimental thing. And it was like the carpet.
The carpet. That show took place in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
87 to like 96. So
that carpet is very reminiscent of that time period as well. That was a great scene, and I had seen the two like mirroring of the ships. That was kind of the spoiler I saw on Twitter. So it wasn't a major spoiler. We kind of all knew it was coming.
I mean, it was emotional for me. Yeah. I mean, and I had already watched the scene multiple times on social media prior to.
You have no chill.
But then sitting here, I mean,
no chill.
You called me back from the edge of the chair like 3 or 4 times that episode.
You were doing your like WVU football game, like on the edge of my seat couch pose.
Yeah, it means a lot to me.
It meant a lot to me, even.
I know.
It was really nice. It was a good scene. I can definitely see how, anybody that watched Star Trek back then would be emotional by it. But even, like, if you're somebody that's just getting into it, like, clearly there's significance in that scene.
Yeah.
And look at the red carpet.
And I want to compliment the people, the guy that came in for just this season and kind of changed things up. I mean, it's very clear he cares about Star Trek.
He's a fan.
He's a fan. He cares about it. It means something to him.
He knows the source material. He wasn't just doing it for a paycheck. You can tell they basically wrote, I feel like, the Picard finale for the fans. And sometimes people are like, oh, fan service, blah, 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 blah. There's a line between fan service, in my opinion, and the payoff. And I felt like it was a love letter to the fans. There was a payoff. Spoiler alert, only one character, unfortunately, died. Do you want to say who that was? And he died in episode 9, right?
Oh yeah, Shaw died in episode 9,
which was a bummer because I literally said before he died, I'm like, I'm really liking him.
Yeah, he was a new character just to this season of Picard. He'd never been around before.
His death was emotional,
and he started out really not liking him.
Yeah, we couldn't stand him at
and
first.
They endeared, and when he endeared himself, I was like,
oh, he's gone. But other than that, I feel like sometimes finales, especially like series type finales that really, because this probably is the lie. I mean, never say never with Star Trek. Never say never. But likelihood with the ages of some of the actors, this is probably the last where they're all going to be together.
This is like
right?
this is like the undiscovered country to the original crew. Several of them popped in and out of other Star Treks throughout time, but they were never all together in one place ever again. And I'm very sure this is the last time we see them all together.
Sometimes I feel like writers in shows don't know how to do a finale. They feel like they need, like, somebody, like, major needs to die. Because I'm sitting there, even I'm like, oh my gosh, what if Picard ends up dying because he sacrifices himself for his son? Yeah, again. That's a whole other topic. And they didn't do that, and I'm fine with it because it paid off. It worked out well. They sizzled us enough. I just snapped my fingers. That's what you guys heard. That's how excited I am. They sizzled us enough for a possible spin-off show featuring Seven, Jack Crusher, Picard's son,
the whole crew,
LaForge's daughters. Yeah.
Well, before we get to that, so then they gave us that big nostalgia hit, and you know what? I think honestly, it was the right move to do that at the end of episode 9 and not do that in the last episode.
Yeah,
because the last episode was much more focused on
resolving
what was happening.
That's one of the things that I liked about this finale is that, and you can tell that it was a love letter to the fans, is that you didn't need some major death to make the payoff.
Right.
They fixed the issue.
Mm-hmm.
My one complaint would be, and you kind of told me, like, oh, because we didn't finish last season, I guess they already explained it to me. My one complaint was last season, season 2 of Picard, one of the characters, she was Dr. Agnes Girardi, I think was her name, and she, like, merged with the Borg, one of the Borg queens, and I'm sitting, that was supposed to, like, kind of change how they were, and I'm like, I thought they were supposed to be good now. And how did they explain that away?
Very,
I was like, is
very
this a plot hole?
poorly.
So is it kind of like in Star Wars, where Palpatine kind of just came back and cloned himself?
They very much,
and it was very throwaway.
This season of Picard very much Rise of Skywalker, the previous 2 Picard seasons, in that things that it didn't really have much use for, it just kind of
scrapped it,
waved away. Like Laris, Picard's girlfriend, we assume.
I think she's history.
She was in 2 seconds of the season.
If he's not back together with Bev, they're at least having some fun with friends on the side. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, she was gone. So did they like explain that for me again? Like they said because she was a different faction of the Borg.
And this wasn't explained in this season. I believe it was explained last season. Is
Or
that
we
they're
kinda
their
checked
own
out.
faction of the Borg now? Not
Because that was my first question. I was like, okay, well, what about blah blah blah? Because I know that was like literally my first question since it was revealed as the main villain. But they solved the issue.
Yep.
Picard saved his son.
And then they gave us the West Virginia goodbye.
They did. Which we love.
I wanted.
Or people that don't know, if you ever watched Lord of the Rings,
Yeah, the Return of the King.
You have about 7 goodbyes, right?
Yeah, like the main climax of the story
and
happens.
I'm good with it.
And there's a ton left, and I was totally fine with it because
Again,
they wrapped up what I wanted to see.
It was a love letter to the fans.
Yep.
They wrapped up what you wanted to see. They gave us plenty of time with that main cast. They also sizzled us for a future show. I know I don't remember this, but once you showed me the scene, it meant even more to me. Kind of go over that final scene with them playing poker and why that was impactful.
So a lot of shows, are hit or miss on their finale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes
it's tough. It's really hard.
It's really hard to write a finale.
And I will say that the finale of the Next Generation show was very good.
But there were definitely loose ends.
There were loose ends, sure, but
because Riker and
the
empath lady, they weren't together yet.
But it was a proper send off for that
and
show.
They belong together.
And they really mirrored that in this, except they showed the growth, because I showed you that scene where Picard, the end of the Next Generation show ends with the main crew always has a poker game, but Picard never participated.
Yeah.
And he finally comes in to participate, and that's where they leave him. And they left this show very much in that situation, except you could clearly tell. He initiated the card game, but you could also clearly tell this was not they'd done this multiple times over the years. They were now a group of old friends that had grown together, and it just shows that growth of the characters.
Was it the camera work kind of like
they very much mirrored that scene where they pulled out.
We're
above.
using our hands right now to demonstrate. You guys can't see us.
and I thought it was just really well done, and it was it was a good kind of wink back to the Next Generation, and it was excellent. I do have one nitpick of this of it, and this is nerd in my basement at 3 a.m. watching the 1970s cartoon show level nitpicking bull.
Oh wow.
I'm not a huge fan of them renaming the Titan A to the Enterprise G.
Why? I thought you liked that. You were excited about that when it aired. Did you sink in a
The more
little?
I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, actually, it's not that I don't like there being an Enterprise G. It's that kind of sullies the name of the Titan a little bit, because the Titan did all this good work for them through this season,
I'm cool
and now all
with
of a
it.
sudden the Titan line's gone.
Everybody knows the Enterprise means more.
Like this is like I'm giving these last 2 episodes 10 out of 10.
You're being a real
I'm giving the
shaw
season
about this.
10 out of 10. It literally has no effect on my rating whatsoever, but it will be discussed amongst the nerd tables for years to come.
I really liked it because I was like, we all know the Enterprise is like, that's it. And I thought that was, and you could tell the characters were excited about. Like Seven was super excited about it. By the way, what is her phrase going to be? They cut that off.
Hopefully we'll find out if they do a show.
Everybody go watch Picard.
Go watch Picard. Listen, if you're not a Star Trek fan, and you don't care, but you like us and you appreciate us, just turn it on in the background so that you get your plays, so that it plays, so that Paramount knows that people are watching it and care about it, because we desperately want to see what's next.
We have possibility of ships. Q shows up at the end.
Q shows up at the end.
Q? Isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not dead.
He's the one that has been messing with Picard, forever.
I mean, he was the first villain in
episode
Jack. 1 of The Next Generation.
I do like
villain.
Jack
He's
Crusher.
not necessarily a villain as so much as an antagonist.
Are you ignoring me entirely about Jack Crusher?
Yeah.
He's cute.
I don't care.
I ship him.
I'll watch a show with 7 and 9 though.
Yeah, me too. She's a strong, powerful woman. We love her. I feel like everybody loves 7.
Okay. So anyways, that's Star Trek Picard. Excellent.
Great finale. I am
awesome.
So sad it's over.
Yeah.
We did get a trailer, I feel like, for Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
In between the time that we last podcasted, which we got more Paul Wesley, who's going to be playing Captain Kirk. We got some more content with him. A few more scenes. We don't know if I don't think he's going to be in every episode, but we got a little bit more on that. So I'm excited for that, but I'm a little bummed out.
Yeah.
This is this Picard, this was if you are a Star Trek fan and you liked Picard, this is a love letter to fans. I would even say, like, I know my dad doesn't have Paramount Plus, but I would tell him, don't watch the first 2 seasons of Picard. Tune into this season. I can catch you up to speed.
I think
You're gonna love it.
They do enough to explain the things that need to be explained about the first 2 seasons that anybody that just knows these characters will slot right in.
And see, you're somebody, when it comes to the Star Wars reference, because you liked The Last Jedi, you were kind of like, ugh, with Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, you're good with it.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of... Oh, we did that at the same time. Jinx.
I took Star Trek, so you take Star Wars.
All right.
Go for
Another show in space.
Not really.
Star Wars.
Wasn't in space that much.
Well, it's in a galaxy far, far away. I consider that
then
space.
Everything is space.
I don't
Grey's
consider
Anatomy
that
is a space show if you take it from that perspective.
Okay. All right. Whew, where do I begin with Mando? We had 2 episodes.
It's over.
Watch.
Let's move on.
The second to last episode. What even happened? Moff Gideon showed up.
They go to Mandalore.
He's cloned himself several times.
Yeah. And the Mandalorians go to Mandalore to take it back. They get ambushed by the Empire. And the Mandalorian gets captured. That's what happens in the episode. And
we find out Moff Gideon. We knew Moff Gideon was alive before that, right? Or did we? That was where
we thought so, but this was the first confirmation of actually.
I wasn't surprised. Apparently, this was like a shocking moment. I never thought he was not alive. And then he has all these clones lying around. So we do get some of the payoff with the woman that was kind of spying on Coruscant. That's who she's been communicating with, was Moff Gideon, which we knew. But it wasn't I said some payoff.
Some payoff, yeah. It was weak payoff.
The fact that they did spend an entire episode just on her, I think maybe because we are getting more seasons of Mando, maybe they'll circle back to that. But I'm like, so we had all that stuff on her, and it was just like, oh, the big reveal, what she been doing. Oh, she's just been spying for Moff Gideon, and she told him the location where the Mandalorian stuff
and the
was going to be,
thing is,
right?
we liked that. Yes, we liked that episode.
I did like that episode.
But
in hindsight, the episode
was a waste of an
Jack
episode.
Black and Lizzo made more sense than this one.
Yeah, in hindsight, that episode was wasted because they could have done that in 10 minutes.
So then our finale picks up right where things left off. I'm still very sus on the Mandalorian group that is led by, what is her name?
The Armorer.
The Armorer. I call her the head lady, who, by the way, we have discovered the actress is Amara from Supernatural. Another great show. If you ever want a show and you want a lot of content, there's 15 seasons.
There's 15 seasons.
Settle in.
They're 20 episodes.
Go watch. I don't even think you see Amara till season 13.
8 or 9. Yeah. Yeah. It might even be later than that.
I think it's later than that. Anyway, moving on. I still don't trust this person because somebody is how did the one girl find out where they were? I knew the Mandalorian helped out.
They did all this explaining about stuff in her episode and never explained how she knew where the Mandalorians were going.
I still don't trust. She just gives me the willies. Maybe I'm just a dark person. I don't know. I think somebody's setting somebody up, and that maybe they'll reveal more in that in season 4, or maybe you and I are just too dark of people.
I don't think they're going to, because I'm going to be honest with you. The way they resolved everything by the end of the last episode, that feels like a reset. You
don't think she's a shady woman?
Oh, she comes off that way, but I don't think that's what they're doing. And the fact is, we talked about this. This very well could have been a series finale if they wanted it to be.
Yeah,
it would work for that.
It would have worked for
I think they have reset it to where next season, if they're going to do a next season,
it can just be the adventures of Mando.
The adventures of Mando and Grogu, like it was in season 1, and that's what they're going back to.
Are we the only ones that got bad vibes from that woman?
I got bad vibes from that woman season 1 all the way through.
She's always given me the creeps, and I've always thought she's had an agenda.
And I didn't know.
And I thought her roping Bo-Katan in and being like, hey, get these other people to show up. I thought that was setting something up. So
I didn't know she was played by the actress that did Amora until literally 2 days ago.
Yeah, she's using a different voice,
and
obviously.
so it's not that I had preconceived notions from another show, because she's wearing a helmet the whole entire series. You never see the actress's face.
It's just the way we vibed with it. I thought the finale was fine. A lot of people were saying it was one of the greatest episodes of Star Wars they've ever watched. I'm going to disagree with that.
Those are the people that just like to watch ships go pew-pew.
Yeah, a lot. And honestly, for me, I like more of the content, more dialogue, and it was a little... If you like action and you want to see that, that's the episode for you.
Yeah.
It was a little too much for me. I love the end of it where and because Grogu got to be in that like little like robotic droid thing where he could say yes, no, yes, no, and that was cute. And they did basically, when I talk about love letters to fans, they finally, we've all this time we've called Mando Grogu's daddy.
Yeah.
Like that's Grogu is his son, and they actually made that like officially recognized. He's going to take him as his son. So that was really sweet. And that means he can train him more in the ways. And this is the way. So they're kind of, and then Apollo Creed's character, what's his name?
I don't know.
Apollo Creed's character, who's on Navarro, he sends him off to some cabin that they can be at. So it is a really cute little ending scene with Mando watching his little son play with the froggies. So I really did like that because my favorite part of The Mandalorian, any Grogu cuteness I can get. I know you say they can't rely on the Grogu cuteness, but that's what keeps me along because Grogu, how precious is Grogu? Come on, Daniel.
He's very precious. I think I said this early in the season, and I think I'm going to repeat it. This, I think, season finale was fine, and it probably would have been a lot better.
Not good. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It would have been a lot better if they didn't do Luke Skywalker in last season.
They're never going to top that.
They're never going to top that. And I think that's
where
a problem.
was Boba Fett? Just hanging around.
Just hanging around.
Like, and I don't know when we're going to be getting season 4.
No.
We really did wait a good piece for season 3. I kept thinking that, I was like, because again, if you go back and watch Boba Fett, which you really need to if you're watching season 3 of The Mandalorian, because if you are just a Mando only watcher, you never even got to see Grogu reunite with him. Because all that was covered in Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I thought Boba Fett might show up. And then, so Boba Fett didn't show up. I really thought that maybe we get some more content for Ahsoka, but I guess according to you, we did get a very sprinkling.
A name drop.
Explain that?
They just name dropped Thrawn, who's going to be the villain of the Ahsoka show.
And how do we know Thrawn?
He was in Rebels.
So he was not in the Clone Wars.
No.
But he was in Rebels.
Yep.
And we get Ahsoka this summer. Do we have an official date on that yet?
I think it's still just August. I don't think we have a date.
We did get more of a trailer.
Yeah, we got a good trailer. The trailer looks good. Trailer looks good.
I just want to see Hayden Christensen show up again and maybe a flashback or as a Force
He'll be
ghost.
there. They're just not going to put it in the trailer.
Yeah, that's true. And then, of course, Mandalorian still. We have all this Mando content. We have Bo-Katan Kryze, basically accepting her legacy. Still no mention of Satine. If they had given me that, I would have bumped up my rating of the Mandalorian finale from, I would say mine was, it was decent. It was okay.
It was fine. That's all I'm leaving it at. It was fine.
I would have bumped mine up to, maybe better than fine if I had gotten that breadcrumb. But it's not that we don't like The Mandalorian. I do think we watched that after we watched Picard, which was excellent. Again, I never really thought there would be a time where I would say I enjoyed a Star Trek more than a Star Wars. But here we are. And my thing is not the same as yours, because I already know you're never going to top Luke Skywalker showing up. This season just felt very disjointed, and I do feel like I think I've talked about this in the podcast before, I call it the Walking Dead treatment. The Walking Dead was a show where, you'd have these episodes, you'd have a build-up, and then the last 2 episodes were just bananas all over the place. And then what would happen? You'd go back after your mid-season finale, slow. Yep. Finale was crazy. And I feel like they kind of did that with Mandalorian.
They very much did that.
But yeah, it was a fine season. It was fine.
It was fine.
Check it out. I'd still recommend you check it out.
All right. We mentioned earlier, the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel has begun. Started on your birthday.
Started on my birthday, April 14th.
And they gave us 3 episodes, and then by the time we got around to watching it, there were 4.
Yes.
Which I'm hoping is not half the season, but I'm worried it is.
I got back from my trip, and we went ahead and started that. They are starting it off kind of a little different than I feel like they normally do. We're getting some not future, but what I think
flash
like
forwards.
In the 80s, flash forwards.
Yeah, they're doing flash forwards with they've done one for her 2 kids and one just for her so far.
Yes.
It's an interesting way to go. I'm not entirely sold
Don't
on
know if
the
I
premise.
love it.
But I guess it kind of, I'm waiting to see how they're going to pay that off at the end.
I'm waiting to see it through. Not a super fan that she and Susie, clearly it's mentioned that they are no longer friends or working together.
Yep.
That's a bit of a bummer. I'm not surprised by it
I mean, honestly,
But it makes me sad.
Like, it's not surprising.
I wish it would be resolved.
It's not surprising, but honestly, like, Midge is not coming off great in any of those flash forwards.
No.
At all.
So I don't want to talk too much about Maisel, because it just started and we're just kind of still getting into it. I know Amazon Prime does this with a lot of their shows. They did this with The Boys one year where they released those first 3 episodes. Then the next one, I'm to the point now where I just wish I could have it all at once, because now if you're going to keep teasing me with these little flash forwards, that's kind of irritating. I think it's fine so far. It's a good. I still really love the Marvelous Mrs. Cannot talk. That's a tongue twister to say.
It is, yeah.
I still love the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's one of my favorite shows. Her parents crack me up. Her dad sitting at the kids' table, just absolutely hilarious. So many good scenes. I don't really know where they're going right now, and that's okay.
Are we seeing Lenny Bruce again?
I don't know.
I don't think we are.
I think that might have been our goodbye.
I think that was our goodbye. It felt that scene in episode 1 with him felt very
Those
goodbye-ish.
Two actors, their chemistry is still unmatched.
And it's like that scene was late 1961, which means we're coming up on 62. And I'm pretty sure that's when he passed away.
And maybe
and it was in California, which is where he was flying off to.
That could have a huge impact on Midge.
I think that's what they're building towards, yes. I think that's very much what they're building towards. Because despite what they did last season with those two characters, which I am vehemently against.
Which I vehemently was
he
for.
He is an important mentor to her.
Oh, absolutely.
And it will definitely have a huge effect on her.
He helped change the course of her career.
Right, exactly.
And was a huge influence. So there's not like a whole lot to say. Like not a ton has happened. She's working as a writer on the Gordon Ford show, which I believe is kind of like Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I think that's what they're
Tonight
mirroring.
Show type thing that they're playing off of. So we're getting development from that. I think it's definitely not. I did not expect them to do the flash forward route. I thought they would kind of end it where they were. So I'll be interested to see how it pays off.
The actress that they got to play her daughter is.
Oh my gosh, perfect!
Really, like
to the point where I thought that was her name's like Rachel.
Yeah, you thought it was
Brosnan.
Rachel for a second.
I can't pronounce her last name, but I thought that was her for a second. So spot on, did their homework there. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they resolve it, especially knowing that this is the last season, and they knew it was the last season when they were filming, which is always good.
Yeah,
it's always nice when you know it was the last season.
When you can write an ending
instead of like getting canceled once you're already in post production and having to go back and do like some filler.
Or not at all.
Or
so
not
you never
at all,
have. You never
like
have
Santa
resolution.
Clarita Diet.
Yes. Santa Clarita Diet. Great show on Netflix with Drew Barrymore and a guy. I don't know the actor's name, but he's also was in The Mandalorian.
Timothy Olyphant. Yeah, but
Go watch that, but you're not going to get a good resolution.
You're not going to get a resolution at all. So
apparently. So great show. Just make up your own ending in your own brain. Anyway, speaking of shows that are apparently on their last season, Ted Lasso, and we're marching through Ted Lasso. I don't want it to end.
I don't want it to
end.
I'm not trying to be incendiary or insulting of people, but the normies probably didn't like this episode, right? Because last season, I'm pretty sure nobody liked the Beard episode. It was kind of I love that episode.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Coach Beard focused episode from season 2.
It broke it up and had more of the other characters in it.
Yes.
And so I think it was better. It was a better episode, I think, than the Beard only episode last season.
But each of those scenes are going to have relevance and payoff in the overall plot.
Absolutely.
Ted's kind of getting his groove back. And Rebecca kind of goes on her own little journey. She's always attached to her phone. There's obviously stuff going on in her personal life when it comes to, we don't know what the results of can she have children or not.
Pretty sure she can't.
I think that's what they want you to think, but I wouldn't be surprised if she finds out that she actually can have children. Because that is something that, now obviously Richard was a piece of garbage anyway, but I do believe that was part of some of the dissolution of that marriage besides his blundering eye.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the best part, the best relationship on the show, Mr. Jamie and Roy Kent.
Of course.
They had even more bonding time together. I will be furious, and I don't think they're going to do it, but I will be furious if something happens to break down that friendship.
Oh, me too. It will be. Yeah. It will sully the show for me.
It would.
Listen to me, folks. it will sully the show to me in a very similar way to How I Met Your Mother sullied the end of that show.
Don't mention How I Met Your Mother to me unless you want me to rant for 45 minutes.
It was a great show, and then they just crapped on it within the last 10 minutes.
And to the point that I can't even rewatch a rerun of How I Met Your Mother because it was so ruined, horrible, awful, terrible. How I Met Your Mother is an example of a show that when you have a series finale in mind, it's best to, as your show evolves, to maybe change your writing. Because they went with the one that had apparently been written after season 1, and the whole course of the show changed. But that's a whole rant for another day.
Maybe it's a rant for another day.
We should do an episode of good finales and bad finales.
That one
for
was
maybe
bad.
A special thing.
If they do that to these two characters,
I won't ever watch Ted Lasso again, and the whole show will be ruined for me.
Correct.
I don't think they're going to do it.
I don't think they're going to do it.
I think Ted Lasso, one of the main reasons why I like Ted Lasso so much is the relationship building aspect, and that is a relationship that you saw start off as kind of foes. Then there was some mutual respect, and now there actually seems that we're getting to a point of friendship and understanding. As for Roy's romantic relationship, I think they might put him back with Keeley, but I'm not entirely convinced at this point.
And I'm not really concerned with it at this point because I think that's not what it's about. I think that you're right. It's about those two are trying to heal other relationships in their lives that is with Brown, and the two of them together are really what that's the ship I care about in this show.
Yes, that is the ship.
And I want to take it back to the show House.
Oh, House. Oh, House.
That's the ship we cared about, and
House
this
and
is the ship
and
we care about.
And they ended up together, basically.
And they ended up together.
House, another good show. Go back and watch that. So that's pretty much all I've got to say on Ted Lasso right now. We're just marching through the season. Other than I'm going to be bummed when it's over.
It's going to be tough. We got some tough ones. Like some tough ones are over for us this year. Like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is going to be tough. Ted Lasso is tough. We didn't know Picard being over was going to be tough, but it ended up being one of the toughest ones all.
Yeah, because the first 2 seasons of Picard were... I mean, the first season was all right, but the second season was...
And meanwhile, I'm over here saying, well, if The Mandalorian ended with this season, I'd be fine with it.
And there you go. And on that note, one other thing that we've been watching is...
I mean, we've been watching it in the sense that one episode since the last time we watched it.
No, that's what you get with network TV, my man.
Ghost. I think there's 3 episodes left.
Yeah, because I think we were already I was like episode 19 or 20.
It feels like there have been like 2 episodes since January.
Well, I think because it's on CBS, I think they didn't have some episodes because of March Madness. And that's just the way we're so used to pretty much all of our shows being on streaming. And we do stream that one on Paramount Plus. That it's so hard to get. How do people do this? How did we ever do this with like network TV? Like all these horrible breaks. And it's really hard for a show like a comedy.
Yeah. Especially like a 22-minute comedy.
Yeah, and we thought, and I guess I remember we did watch an episode right before I went on my birthday trip, but I was like, oh, we should have like at least 3 episodes of Ghosts on here, and then we get on there. We were happy to have one. Only one.
But only one.
And Ghosts is really funny. If you guys are subscribers to Paramount Plus, which you should be because that's how you're going to watch Picard, and no, this is not a paid-for ad. This is just my opinion. Get on there and watch Ghost. You'll be able to see all of the first season and most of the second season. If
Paramount wants to pay us to shill for them, though, they are free. Come on, bring it on.
Bring it on.
But we are not currently being paid to shill for Paramount Plus. And I wouldn't at this moment because despite the content they have, which is very good, their app is terrible.
Yeah, their app isn't the best. But hey, Paramount Plus, we will shill for you.
I will rescind my commentary on your app.
You will rescind his comment. It's more than fine. Oh, wink, wink. But if you're looking for a funny comedy, just something to chill with, I know I get to the point where if I've had a really hard week at work or I'm just tired in general, a comedy, a sitcom is what my brain needs. And I think Ghosts is one of the perfect shows for that.
The only thing I would say is in the end of this season and into next season, I'd like them to shake it up just a bit. Not a lot.
They finally saw your headless guy, though.
Yeah, and then got rid of him.
You've been complaining about that all season. They finally saw him and then got rid of him, like half hour later.
Just shake it up just enough. I don't know what, but they need to shake it up just a little bit. I wish there was
some way that Jay could commentate with the ghosts or like talk to them. Why am I saying the word commentate? I'm being very professional right now. I wish there was some way that Samantha, she's the one that can see the ghosts.
Yeah.
She can communicate with them. Her husband, Jay, cannot.
Yes.
I would love if there'd be a way for him to do that, but I think that's part of the shtick.
But I think that shtick is getting a bit dated.
Maybe there could be a way that he could communicate with Pete because they have a good friendship.
Yeah, I don't know. So
and speaking of Maisel, Pete's ex-wife is Joel's mom on Maisel. So every time she shows up on Ghost, which is like her second or third episode, we're always like, that voice. How do we know that voice?
It's a very distinct voice.
And the voice is so distinct that I could have sworn that woman sat next to me on my plane. My plane ride down to when I took my girls' trip, this woman sat down next to me. I'm like, are you like the actual Mrs. Maisel, Joel's, Midge's ex-husband's mom? I'm like, are you this woman like sitting next to me? I got to learn all about her trip that she was going on with her husband.
Well, didn't you joke with her that like you guys could be best friends?
I made an offhanded comment because I need to start looking weirder on flights. I look too normal. That for once, my flight was not full. There was like 25 open seats, and I'm like, yes. That means I'm going to get a buffer seat. And she comes right up to me and was like, hey, can we sit here? And I was like, sure, we'll become best friends. She must have taken me literally. I mean, she's a perfectly nice woman, but
she talked your ear off.
Talked my ear off until she finally fell asleep. Then I started to fall asleep, and I feel a tap on my shoulder. She had to go to the bathroom, and we only had we were getting ready to land. Like, I'm like, you have
hold
5
it for
minutes.
The 10 minutes, yeah.
But other than that, perfectly nice woman.
Okay.
Bless your beautiful hide.
Please bless all of your beautiful hides, and have a good week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope on Twitter @LilRunner or on Instagram @LilRunner1485. And Daniel is on Twitter @TheRealHoboDan. Drop us a line if you like the show or have a question you'd like us to address on a future show. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.